And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of MLB DFS Quick Hits, your Thursday, August 13th edition. Have a weird 5-gamer on tap for you today. Hope everybody had a great Wednesday as we head closer and closer to the weekend. It was a wild one, the Bomba Squad blasting off in Milwaukee. We saw the Yankees doing Clint Frazier things. That was good to see. Lots of fun stuff there around the diamond last night, but we head into this weird 5-1. This will be a quickie for you today, as I said. But beware, it locks at 4:05 Eastern. There's a 4:05 game, a 4:30 game, a 5:10 game, a 7:15 game, and a 9:40 game. So it's crossed throughout the slate to make things quite interesting for you and keep you on your toes and decide what risks you want to take on today's slate. Also, so you know, Baltimore-Philadelphia is one of the early games, so that's good to see. But they are scheduled about 30-ish% chance of rain today. It's kind of off and on, so hopefully it's one they can sneak in there, and maybe it passes by. So keep your eye on the weather there. But that's a 4:05 start time, the first game of the day in Philadelphia. And that's a game that it's going to be a very popular game for bats. So if that one crosses things off, this slate gets a whole lot more interesting. But again, 5 games on DraftKings. They have 4 games on FanDuel for you to break down. But as usual, we'll stick with you on DraftKings here. If you have any questions for FanDuel or anything else, hit me up in the live chat for this feed right now, or on Twitter at BDintric, or in one of the Slack chats with Fantasy Sports DJs, which is free, or come to the RotoBaller Premium Slack chat. Join Premium for and get 10% off using promo code Bubba. Get all the tools, all kinds of cool stuff. The Slack chat is just an added bonus to that. All right, slate ahead here. Here's your totals. We got Orioles at Phillies. Total is 10, and that might be too low. This is going to be ugly, assuming they play. And Phillies are heavy favorites in that one. Rays, Red Sox, 9.5. Pirates, Reds, 9. Brewers, Cubs, waiting on that one because the wind, well, it's Wrigley, so you always wait on the weather. But the wind right now looks like it's blowing in about 8 to 10 miles an hour from center field. That's a good thing. Padres, Dodgers, 8.5. So we got some early games to attack the bats, late games to get the pitching in. Is the way it looks like things are going. And that's kind of how we'll go about it. I got 4 pitchers for you to circle on today's slate. The highest priced arm, the one, the only Yu Darvish, who's throwing like 8 different pitches out there. He's been absolutely filthy. He's 10-4 at home against the Milwaukee Brewers, a Brewers team that has been very, very rough to start the season. That's just kind of putting things nicely here. A Brewers team striking out 28.9% of the time versus right-handed pitching right now. That is not good, Bob. Not good. A 215 average versus right-handed pitching, only a 145 ISO versus right-handed pitching. So there's no power. They're striking out a ton. That's a recipe for success for one Yu Darvish. Even if he gives up a few runs, we know he can strike out the world. He has he struck out 4 his last time out, 7 and 5. We need that strikeout rate to keep coming up. But even in the 4K game, 22 points. He's got 22 or more points in back-to-back starts. Phenomenal spot here versus Milwaukee. If the wind's blowing in, even groovier. So keep an eye on one Yu Darvish at 10-4 if you're paying all the way up top. The next guy to look at here is Mr. Chris Paddack, $8,500. This could be a nice contrarian play. One thing about this slate, the later games, especially the late games, San Diego, LA, probably get the lowest ownership on the entire slate because people don't want to risk that guys don't play and whatnot. So you can take some chances here. One is with Chris Paddack, $8,500 at the Los Angeles Dodgers, a Dodgers team we know is very, very good against everybody. But 208 ISO, 333 WOBA, first right-handed pitching, only striking out 19% of the time. That's big boy stuff there when you really want to break it all down. But Paddack, 295 average for lefties, 247 for righties. He's striking out a decent amount of pitchers, players as well. He's got a almost 27% K rate, but giving up a lot of hard contact. That's kind of been his bugaboo this year. Everything else has been just fine with Paddack. He's starting to utilize an extra pitch, which is great. He's given up 3 earned runs in back-to-back starts. He's given up at least 1 homer in 3 straight starts. Those are things to worry about, but still 6.56 is his strikeout totals. Only got to 6 innings twice, 5 2/3, 6, 5, 6. So that's another thing we got to keep an eye on. He's not going super deep, but at least 15 points in every game. So that's one thing I'm looking at on a slate that's this ugly in pitching. And even against the Dodgers, he pitched very well. If you can give me 15-plus points, kind of lock it in, that's a big, big thing. You know, you got Darvish, who has that massive ace upside. You got Paddack, if he's dealing, could really get it done. And Paddack's going to go extremely low owned. So something to keep in mind on that one. Anthony D Schlafoni Disco at $8,200 is going to be uber popular, and he's rightfully so. Coming off a just beauty at Milwaukee, 6 shutout innings, 6 Ks. Prior to that, 5 shutout, 2 Ks against Detroit. So 11 shutout innings to start the year. 8 Ks total. He's only given up 5 total hits, only walked 1 over that stretch. 27.7 points his last time out. And when you want to target someone, you target Pittsburgh with right-handed pitching. They're striking out 24% of the time versus righties. They're hitting a $180 versus righties. They have a 100 ISO versus righties. They are absolutely dreadful, period. But against right-handed pitching, it is really, really bad for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Lefties are hitting 327 off Disco. Righties 255, but a ton to like about D Schlafoni. His 24% K rate of his own, 43% ground ball rate. Gives up a little bit of hard contact, so you never know. They might finally get some runs scored on D-Sclo tonight. He's going to be super popular. He's going to be the chalk arm of the night. Everyone is going to have D-Sclo. It should be a D-Sclo. D-Sclo Darvish should be your 1-2. That's the easy way to do this. If you want to differentiate, you go to Paddock or you go to my next guy. My final guy is Corbin Burns. A little riskier. Great spot to pitch in Wrigley. We talked about that. But $6,200. Brett Anderson's going to start. Brett's gone 3 to 3 2/3 innings in every start. And then they hand it over to Corbin Burns, who's gone anywhere from 3 1/3, 3 2/3, 5 1/3. That's what he's done in his last 3 appearances. He's thrown 77, 64, 75 pitches. His last time out, 23 points, but then he's basically got at least 12 points in every start. He's got 5 or more Ks in every start, or not start, long man out of the pen in these setups. So Burns is a very, very intriguing option on this one if you want to differentiate things a little bit in this matchup against the Cubs with a good weather situation for you. Cubs are striking out 25.5% of the time versus right-handed pitching, hitting 250 with a 206 ISO. Not bad. It's a little bit of pop there versus righties, but that big strikeout rate is what Burns looks for. Burns will give up runs. He's giving up runs every time out there. But if he can limit the damage, get you the strikeouts, he gets you 5+ in 3 to 4 innings at $6,200 on this slate, that could be tremendous. So he can basically, as long as he doesn't get blown up and he gives you 3 to 4, maybe 5 innings, he could do what Paddock's going to do tonight at maybe even lower ownership. So Burns is very, very much on the radar as a punt for me today. So Darvish up top, phenomenal play. You got D-Sclo in the middle, great play. Going to be chalkier than chalk. You're going to wish you had some Metamucil and stuff to fix your stomach after that chalk. But then you got Paddock as a pivot in the middle, get $8,200 at the Dodgers. And you got Burns at 62 versus the Cubs. Those are your 2 pivots at the pitching position. All right, when you talk catching, though, you got Real Muto versus Eshelman. That's a beaut because Eshelman is not good. Not good, Bob. Best way I can say it to you. They should beat up all over. And they have a team total of 5.8. Lefties hitting 349. Righties 400 off Eshelman this year. Last year, it was not any better. It was brutal. So this is a big, big spot for the fight in Phils tonight. Real Muto's in a great spot there. You got Wilson Contreras. If you want to target him versus Brett Anderson before Burnsy comes in, you can. The Baltimore combination, I played Cisco yesterday. I was hoping he'd be in there again today. Usually, he's been catching a few back-to-back. So if Cisco's in there at 37, strong spot. Kind of stinks he went off yesterday because now he'll be much more popular. But if not, Severino at 43 is his battery mate. Could be a sneaky little alternative as well. Then other than that, just see what value pops up. It's getaway day. So you might get some cheapies. Maybe in Cincinnati, you get Stevenson getting a nod, or they go to Tucker Barnhart, who's had good success for Trevor Williams. Cincinnati's a great play today as well. Heading over to first base, if you want to fade D Schlafoni, that's the way to go about it. If you want to be super contrarian, because again, Pirates bats have been dreadful. D Schlafoni is going to be very, very popular. So game theory wise, it's play some Pittsburgh bats. Maybe not a full stack, but a few of them. That's your angle. I'm not sure I'm going to do that in a single entry, but if you're multi-entering, if you're doing 3-max, have a Pittsburgh stack. I'm going to tell you that much. Get some Pittsburgh exposure on this slate because that'll be your leverage to the gills. You can play every other chalk play you want. If you have like 2 or 3 Pittsburgh bats in there, you're groovy. And one of them can be Josh Bell at 5,000. He's super pricey. Not playing the best of ball to start the year to put things nicely, hitting 213 with a 574 OPS. Not great, but could be a nice GPP play on today's slate. Anthony Rizzo does hit lefties fine. They got Burnsy at 46. Joey Votto I like a lot at 44. We're not a full PVP type guy here, BVP, but sometimes it's nice to look at. Joey Votto 10 for 25 with 3 doubles off Trevor Williams. You can track Trevor Williams with lefties in his career. It's something we really, really like to do. The Reds have a 5.2 team total, 3rd highest on the slate. Lefties hitting 374, righties 324 off Trevor Williams. Votto, he's slowed down after that hot start, but he's still being very fantasy productive because he's getting on base at a very nice clip. He's getting BABIP to death, so he's going to start having some good games. His overall X stats and everything look good. So Votto at 44 is in play. I love the Orioles as always low owned. Renato Nunez at 43, very strong as well. A few others besides Pittsburgh being unique. The Red Sox will be a sneaky stack as well. Glasnow's been kind of really bad since his first time. Not kind of, he has been bad. 4.2 team total for the Red Sox. Lefties 205, righties 276. So some reverse splits going on there. Something to keep in mind there. Jose Martinez hitting cleanup for the Rays at 39 is in play. Another Pittsburgh bat. If you don't want to go Josh Bell, you want to save some cash, Colin Moran is 3,600. So he's first base, third base eligible. He's a cheaper angle to go. And then our boy Brosu, a lefty on the mound for Boston, a gas can lefty, a young lefty. Brosu at 34 is definitely a punt play at first base or second base tonight against Mr. Hart, not Kevin Hart. It's just Mr. Kyle Hart is someone we can definitely target in this matchup. So second base, we got some more to get to this one. Second base, we got Brandon Lau. We liked him yesterday a ton because he's facing a righty who went deep. Probably not going to start today, but if he does, give him a look as a contrarian play with the lefty-lefty matchup. Another Pirate you can look at is Kevin Newman, second base shortstop eligible at 4,300. He is someone to take a peek at as well. Hanser Alberto at 4K, always on my radar. Gets on base, just a stat stuffer, which is what we like to see, especially on smaller slates. Then Brosu at 34. So second base is pretty cut and dry. Maybe Josh Van Meter, if he cracks the lineup, second base outfield eligible for Cincinnati at 3,000. He's been playing a little bit lately with Moose on the shelf. So keep an eye on Mr. Van Meter at 3,000. And they got Cronenworth, but probably won't play with a lefty on the mound tonight. So he's probably out. But yeah, you got some value there. Wendell probably doesn't play with Van Meter at 3,000. Brosu at 34. And then you go up to Alberto, Newman. Those are some guys you can peek at second base. Third base position, Devers is back. He's 53. If you want to stack against Glass now, he will be very low owned. Something to keep in mind there. Eugenio Suarez, most are going to go lefties versus Williams, and for very good reason. Suarez at 45 will be your kind of contrarian piece of Cincinnati. Nunez at 43 we like. Machado at 42 versus Urias is a GPP type play. San Diego GPP stack if you choose to go because their bats are hot. They're a great team. Got shut down yesterday by Gonsolin. It was very surprising. And Urias is a good pitcher, but could be an angle there in that one. Gene Segura at 4,000 I like quite a bit. He's really, really heating up for the fight in Phils. He's somewhere in 2 of 3 games. He's got 7 or more points in 3 games. He's got 7 or more in 4 of 5. Really getting it going after an extremely slow start. So Gene at 4,000, a cheaper piece of lower owned piece of Philly. Someone to keep in mind. I mentioned Colin Moran at 36 earlier. Rayo Ruiz, if you're playing Baltimore, he's 3,400. He's hitting about cleanup in that Baltimore lineup. So he's another cheap piece, and he gets overlooked. Nunez and Alberto are the popular ones. They're still not even that high owned. But you got Rayo Ruiz, and we got a couple outfielders we'll talk about that are both swinging good bats that you can pick on tonight. But that's about it at third base. Not a ton of value at first glance unless something changes when lineups are released. Shortstop position, Tatis Jr., love him in GPPs, love him pretty much every night, but he's going to go low 0 tonight because he's the late game, plus Urias, 5,400 for Tatis. Mashed lefties last year. He's mashing everybody this year. Interesting contrarian play with Tatis. You got Javi Baez at 46, Bogarts at 45 versus Glasnow. Mentioned Glasnow's reverse splits, so Bogarts could be a very good GPP play as well at 45. I got Newman at 43. Talked about him at second base, hitting towards the top of that Pirates order. Freddie Galvis, a cheaper, unique piece of Cincinnati. He's 3,300. Jose Iglesias for Baltimore at 32 are 2 cheaper shortstops if you want to go that route. Then you got Willy Adams at 3K versus Mr. Kyle Hart. Adames has hits in 3 straight games. He homered last night, so maybe he's going to start going after a slow start. But Adames at 3K could be a nice value with Tampa Bay because Tampa's in a really good spot tonight against Hart and then that Boston bullpen. Heading to the outfield, everyone's in. No, Bryce Harper at 54 is one of my favorite plays of the entire day. He is on fire right now, stealing bases last night, dropping bombs left and right. He's averaging 12 points his last 10 games, 15 or more in 3 straight games. The dude is he's got 10 or more in 6 of 10 games. He is just raking right now. $5,400 against Eshelman. That is a great play tonight. Great play. Austin Meadows versus Hart. Nice lefty-lefty matchup at 4,900 to kind of screw people over. Castellanos at 48 I like quite a bit as well. Casty, Cincinnati, big fan of them tonight. Going on down, though, you look at the likes of, say, Brian Reynolds if you want to attack D Schlafoni at 39. He's a guy you can look at. And then one of the 2 Baltimore outfielders, Anthony Santander at 3,900. He went deep yesterday. He's swinging a very, very hot stick, 12 or more points in 5 straight games. Just absolutely raking right now. He's a very nice value at 3,900. And then Jay Bruce against Eshelman at 38. I love that. If you're looking to get weird, he's batting 7th, which kind of sucks, but he's getting it done night in and night out right now. Like he tripled his last start. He went 3 for 5 with a triple and a homer, and then an 0 for game, and then a 23-point game. He's always GPP viable because that upside is huge, especially against a guy like Eshelman. The other Baltimore outfielder, he's the most overlooked in this entire hot streak they're on. $3,700, Dwight Smith Jr. He has 10 or more DraftKings points in 4 of 5 games. Really getting it done. He's not even hitting too many home runs. He's just getting it done, filling the stat sheet. So he's a guy you can look at 37 in his matchup. Then other than that, Jesse Winker at 35, sneaky nice. He's feeling it big time. So I like Winker at 35 for some savings. Hunter Renfroe at 34 versus the lefty Hart for some savings is very nice. Ian Happ at 33 if you want to go there in that matchup. I'm kind of sitting that matchup out, but it could be a spot for the Cubbies if you so choose. Shogi Akiyama and Josh Van Meter at 3K are both nice values for Cincinnati as well. And then you might get a few more as lineups come out, but nothing stands out too much right out the gate. So again, easy slate. Well, not easy. Short slate, goofy slate. Remember the time. Starts at 4:05, 4:30, 5:10, 7:15, 9:40 Eastern, but it's all one slate. Watch the weather in Philadelphia, about 30% chances. So keep an eye on that one. When you're looking at pitching, we got Yu Darvish up top. He's pretty clear. D Schlafoni is going to be the chalk right in the middle for good reasons. Pivots will be Chris Paddock at $8,500 against the Dodgers. He's got a pretty good floor unless just one of the blow-up games happen. Pretty darn good floor with tremendous upside if things get going. And then Corbin Burns coming out behind Brett Anderson. It's risky because you never know, but he's usually going at least 3, sometimes 5 innings when he comes out from somebody. 5 or more Ks. He's getting you the strikeouts. Cubs strike out a lot versus right-handed pitching like we talked about. So you can definitely pick on that. I want to game stack the snot out of Baltimore Philly. I want Bryce Harper. I want Jay Bruce, guys like that with tons of power in Philly. Segura is really good. Then I want to stack the snot out of Baltimore. I love Baltimore. Night in and night out. Nunez is great. Alberto's not bad. Santander, Dwight Smith, Riley Ruiz. Lots of things to like with Baltimore. That's one way I want to go. Tampa Bay versus Kyle Hart in that bullpen. Love that one as well. Brosu's super cheap, especially hitting towards the top of that order versus a lefty. You got Renfroe. Jose Martinez starting to get going. Willy Adams starting to get going. There's going to be some options in that Tampa Bay lineup. I'm not on Boston right now, but it is an interesting contrarian angle against Glass now. They've just been so bad. Snell shut them down. They had one big inning against their bullpen last night. They just really haven't been consistent with the bats, but it's a way to go on the slate. Cincinnati versus Williams. You can attack them big time with lefties. You got Casty and Suarez as well. Casty had more than Suarez, but those lefties in there. You got Winker as value. You got Akiyama. You have Van Meter as value. Joey Votto's intriguing. Definite options in that Cincinnati situation there. Milwaukee, Chicago kind of staying away. The weather, for one, when it's blowing in from Wrigley, it's a legit thing. Something to keep in mind there. Plus, I respect you, Darvish. I don't know. I imagine if Brett Anderson gets in early trouble, they yank him pretty quick and go to Burns. I like Burns a lot. He's going to give up a few runs. I just don't know if it's enough runs for a stack situation where there's so many other runs to focus on. But in reality, the Cubs could be the one that's standing out as a very good team that could end up being the GPP thing. So keep an eye on that. And then your late night hammer, San Diego at the Dodgers. Very good pitching matchup. I'm not going to have a ton of bats there, but I will say if you want to be different out the gate, I think you want the chalk D Schlafoni, you want the chalk Darvish pitchers. If you do some bats in that late game, they'll be low owned because no one wants to risk having dead spots in their roster that late. It's kind of an NBA thing. You learn an NFL thing. The later games get much less ownership. So that's something to definitely keep in mind there. Before we wrap up, like I always say, if you're coming to the live stream, we got listener questions for you. So Lagomi asks, what's your reason for preferring one site over the other? I've always been a DK guy. I've had big hits on DK. I had a $50,000 hit a few years ago. I enjoy the 2-pitcher strategy. It brings more to the table. I also like the position eligibility. Some guys have multi-positions, so you can get more creative with your lineups. Those are things I like to do. I am getting more into FanDuel. I do some other work on the side as well, and we talk FanDuel on that show with DraftKings. And I'm getting more in there. The pricing on FanDuel is it's ridiculous. It's stupid. That kind of annoys me at times, but I also try to take advantage of it. So I do build some FanDuel of late. So keep an eye on that. And then Joji414 asks, pick one, Hayes, Smith, Renfroe, and Margot For tonight, I'm assuming that's Dwight Smith Jr. I'm assuming. So give me Dwight Smith Jr. And then I have Renfroe at number 2. So go Dwight Smith, go Baltimore, go O's. Go everybody, have a fun Thursday, 5-game slate on tap tonight. It's going to be a doozy. I'm on Twitter at BDintric. If you give a rate and review on iTunes, I'd really appreciate it. Help the podcast out a ton. Putting in the work for you guys 5 days a week. I'd appreciate just a little rate and review. It'd help a lot. You can also check out the video on the YouTube channel for RotoBaller at any time there. Go check those guys out at RotoBaller. Lots of awesome content coming out there on the daily. I also have the free DraftKings picks posted over there for today if you want to go read up on those, give you a little more to what we just talked about on this podcast. But that'll do it. Until next time, I'll see you guys tomorrow. This was MLB DFS Quick Hits, your Thursday, August 13th edition. I'm out.